Please stand and bow to your spirit as we sing our gathering hymn, number 188. Come, come, whoever you are. You may need the hymnal, you may not. It's one of our favorites.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, whoever of waiting, ours is no caravan of us leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, gather, whoever you are, wanderer, whoever of waiting, ours is no caravan of us leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
I take my mask off at the podium because I have tested negative. So speakers from the main podium can go maskless with our policy with masking in the sanctuary. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Hillsborough, where we are committed to being an open and welcoming congregation to all who seek community and support. We don't require that we adhere to one specific creed or common belief or faith practice, but rather we are a covenant community committed to loving and supporting each other in our individual lifelong quest for truth and meaning in matters of our personal faith. So, whoever you are, member, guest, or friend, and for whatever reason or purpose guided you here this morning, either in person or online, we welcome you. My name is Dave Yelton. I'm the worship coordinator for today's service. I want to thank everyone who has had a part in making this worship experience possible. I'll start by thanking our gifted pianist and musical director, Aviva Enoch. And thanks to A.J. Mayhew for stepping in while we are temporarily without our office manager and helping to edit and print our order of service today. I also want to thank A.C. Tharrington for faithfully distributing our printed order of service at the door. Our listening ear today, I believe, is Jerry Morris. And our keeper of the flames is Molly Rugg. I now extend a special welcome and thank you to our guest speaker today. Reverend Yuri Yamamoto is a Christian minister and chaplain and is also a candidate for a Unitarian Universalist ministerial fellowship. After a 15-year position as the pianist and choral director at the UU Fellowship in Raleigh, Yuri began training as a chaplain for local hospitals in 2018 and completed a Master of Theology degree at Shaw University Divinity School just this last year. Yuri also has a PhD in genetics, among her other credits, and worked as a scientist in the area of molecular biology. Yuri was born and raised in Japan, and with her husband has 6 children and 4 grandchildren. So Yuri, we welcome you today and look forward to your inspiring and insightful message. Before we create our time for worship, let's take a few moments to share any information, any important announcements with each other. It's a really good time to check your cell phone and make sure it is off or silenced. We've been doing pretty good on that last month or two. We are also in the medium range for Orange County, so we are requiring masking for the congregation inside. And So keep those on even when coming to the side microphone for announcements later. We should be able to enjoy our coffee hour afterwards. The weather is nice outside, so we can continue our conversations in the other parts of the building, clear out the sanctuary, or take it outside, which is beautiful today. Now, are there any announcements for the good of the community? If you have an announcement to share, come to the side microphone as Allison is demonstrating, and speak loudly through your mask and share your information with us.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, if you are here and you participated in the Future is Now campaign, please raise your hand. Okay, please give these people a round of applause. We have retired the mortgage. I'm gonna retire the mortgage as soon as Alicia writes the check. But it's gonna happen. And so, we have planned the next committee of the whole meeting. That's in your order of service. And there is information about that in the e-news. If you are not getting the e-news, please let me know after the service. That is how we communicate, is through email. And if you got the e-news this week and you saw your name, we need you, because that is the care calendar that has been set up for AC, who passes out our bulletin. There are multiple chores that need to happen over at AC and Terry's, and then we're gearing up to help AC and Terry move. So please do become part of our care calendar and help us coordinate that digitally so that we know what's covered, what's not. And when I say we, there's a core group of people, namely Lou, who has been over there daily making sure that things get done and everything is taken care of. So those are my announcements. Did you want to add anything to that, Lou?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't think you should mess the cow.
Huh?
The cow.
Yeah, the cow is a week from today, next Sunday. It's in that bulletin, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Number one, there have been quite a number of people that have helped out with the effort to help AC and Terry. And I really want to thank everybody. I know some people are still doing different things to help out. Again, I just really appreciate all the help. We thought it was really quite an emergency and that they would have to be out on September 15th. However, after running down some leads, I found a way to get an extension for a month. So it's not quite as emergent or urgent at this point. However, we're still working on different aspects of this. Sometimes I'm not there because I'm working on other parts of it. I'm working with a different team that includes a social worker and another interested person who is actually fabulous in what she does to help out. So that's the current update. We're still trying to figure out some storage problems, and once the move is made, then we'll also have to, most likely at least, have to look around for furniture. So that's where we are right now.
Hi, I'm Aviva. I just want to let everybody know that on October 2nd, we're going to be having an outside service with Reverend Holly Lux Sullivan. It's going to be a blessing of the animals service. So you're invited to bring your pets to be blessed, and also remember to bring your lawn chair. And next Sunday, the 25th of September, anybody who would like to sing with us, we're going to be just doing a very simple chant at the service. And if you want to join us, You can just come before the service to learn it at 10 a.m. and then we'll sing it at the service. It's not hard to learn. We just like to have some singers there, some joyful voices.
I'm Jerry Morris, and I'll be the listening ear today. And if you have any needs just to converse or talk about anything, I'll be outside near the second yard there and be happy to talk.
So now, if there are no more announcements, let's prepare ourselves for worship. We'll begin with the lighting of the chalice, our time-honored symbol of light and loving warmth of our community of faith. Reading today is yesterday, tomorrow, and today. Yesterday, our distant ancestors gathered around a flame to share their stories and to find comfort. Tomorrow, our descendants will gather around the flame, talking of the life we will never know. But today, it is we who gather here, around the flame, seeking, believing, and being together in communal love.
Good morning. Today's opening words are by Alice Walker, and it is in this wonderful resource book from UUA called Lifting Our Voices. To acknowledge our ancestors means we are aware that we did not make ourselves, that the line stretches all the way back, perhaps to God or to gods. We remember them because it is an easy thing to forget that we are not the first to suffer, rebel, fight, love, and die. The grace with which we embrace life in spite of the pain, the sorrows, is always a measure of what has gone before.
Please stand in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, 1001 in the Teal hymnal, and Yuri will lead us in the song Breaths.
Listen more often to things down to being. Listen more often to things down to being. It's the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. It's the ancestors' earth. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Thank you. You may be seated.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a sharing community where our joys are celebrated, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Each Sunday, we take time to reflect on the special happenings that have occurred this week among our members and friends. Some choose to share aloud, while others choose to remain silent. Here we make room for both. For those of you who would like to share aloud, please take a moment before we begin. Center yourselves and collect your thoughts so that what you have to share this morning is personal, heartfelt, and brief. So now, please come forward, tell us your name, and share what's in your heart. When you're finished, you may release a stone into the vase on the altar. Also, for those of you joining us online through our YouTube channel and would like to share with those of us here, please chat in your joys and concerns and indicate if you'd like it to be read aloud here, and we can drop a stone for you. Now, for those of you who would prefer to silently acknowledge a joy or concern remaining in your heart, I invite you to come to the altar, release a stone into the vase in silence while Aviva plays Spirit of Life. After she plays through it one time, we're all invited to join singing the meditation song. Words are printed in your order of service. We hold all these things within the heart of this community, both spoken and unspoken, while remaining silent for a moment as we consider what has been shared and how we might respond. Now let us close together with Amen and blessed be. Amen and blessed be. Now, let's sing our children to class. I think we're using Children's Blessing, which is in the back of your gray hymnal on the back cover. As a special addition to our service today, we celebrate a special time in the Earth's calendar, the autumnal equinox, which comes on Thursday of this coming week. The equinox is valued by many cultures as a time of special reflection on the cycles of the earth, cycles of life, and of the lives of those who have preceded us. So today we will call on the spirits of the four directions, east, south, west, north, to join with us in our worship experience today. So please stand as you are willing or able, and please turn to your hymnals to reading 446, the gray hymnal, to the Four Directions by Joan Goodwin. We will read it responsively. It's not written exactly that way, but I will summon the spirit of each direction by calling the first 2 lines of each segment. Then the congregation will join in for each spirit, beginning with the line, "Be with us." So let's all face to the east, and I will summon the spirit. Molly will be lighting a ritual candle for each of our directions. Spirit of the east, spirit of air, of morning and springtime, be with us as the sun rises, in times of beginning, in times of planting. Inspire us with the fresh breath of courage as we go forth into new adventures. Please face the south. Spirit of the south, spirit of fire, of noontime and summer, be with us through the heat of the day and help us to be ever growing. Warm us with strength and energy for the work that awaits us. Now to the west. Spirit of the west, spirit of water, of evening and autumn, be with us as the sun sets and help us to enjoy a rich harvest. Flow through us with a cooling, healing quietness and bring us peace. Now to the north. Spirit of the north, spirit of earth, of nighttime and winter, be with us in the darkness, in the time of gestation. Ground us in the wisdom of the changing seasons and celebrate the spiral journey of our lives. Now please face forward and please turn in your hymnal to number 73. We will sing the chant for the season of autumn, which is the first season or the first verse in the hymn. Please be seated.
Hibari naku na don't cry. The sky far away is sad. My parents were gone forever. Lark, don't cry. Time of wheat harvest is sad. Only wind blows over the field. Lark, don't cry. The sky in my hometown is sad. They were all tender-hearted people. Lark, don't cry. The cloudy sky is sad. Oh, the sun, please don't disappear. These words were written by a Japanese poet, Masao Tachiya, and I wrote the music in 2011. I discovered Tachiya's poems in that year, shortly after the Great East Japan earthquake with devastating tsunami and nuclear accident. It was also when my father was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I went to Japan many times to volunteer in disaster sites and spend time with my father. Seeing the destruction and experiencing deep grief, Tachiya's poems spoke to me deeply, and melodies began to flow. The poem Lark, Don't Cry was written before the earthquake, but it echoed the cries of the tens of thousands who lost their loved ones. The song still speaks to me because the pain of grief never completely goes away. My mother died in 1994, and my father died in 2012. I am still looking for them, trying to understand their experiences, thoughts, and feelings, and how they shaped me. In Japanese tradition, 7 days around the equinox are called Higan, and people often visit their family graves to honor their ancestors. Higan literally means the other side where ancestors live, as opposed to this side where we live. Some say that because the lengths of the day and the night are the same on the equinox, the gate between this and the other world opens. Others say that because the other world in the Japanese Buddhist tradition is the Western Pure Land, so on the equinox, when the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, we can connect with our ancestors in the Western Pure Land. Whatever the reason, as Higan is approaching, it is time to honor my ancestors. I have a copy of a list of death records of my paternal ancestors. My grandfather copied names from his ancestors' memorial tablets in 1965. Some ancestors go back to 1700s, and only the date of death and their names given upon their death are recorded. It is still a common practice for Japanese to be given a new name upon death. After 1904, people's names in their lifetime are recorded. The first person is a 7-year-old boy in the first grade who died mysteriously. This was the first son of my great-grandparents, the oldest brother of my grandfather. There is a note that this boy came home happily with his very first report card with excellent marks. Then around 1 p.m., he lied down and never woke up. He died 2 days later. I can imagine the grief and devastation of the family. I have heard that back in those days, children died so often that people believed that children up to the age 8 still belonged to God. But the pain of losing a child, especially the first son, in an unexpected way, must have been very difficult. 10 years later, this boy's grandfather died at age 81 in 1917. There is a note that he was a Shinto priest of a local shrine. This was the time when Shinto shrines were under the control of the imperial government. Traditionally, Shintoism was a pantheistic indigenous belief system. There were gods of ancestors, heroes, protectors of community, animals, plants, mountains, and the oceans. Shamans practiced seances, and priests practiced rituals and led rites of passages. The imperial government created the national Shinto that worshipped the emperor as a living god, directly descended from the sun goddess, the creator of the nation. The Japanese imperial government also claimed that the national Shinto was not a religion and that the Japanese people had freedom of religion by the constitution. But they were forced to participate in national Shinto rituals and worship, regardless of their religious beliefs. Being a Shinto priest in imperial Japan meant a special privilege and power. There is also a note that this ancestor was adopted into the family through marriage. This means that he took his wife's last name and their family occupation, likely the priesthood, and became the heir of the wife's father. It was a common practice in Japan for a family without a son, and is still practiced today to some extent. As this priest died, his second son became a priest of the same shrine. A note on his death record in 1935 says that he was a village mayor and worked very hard for the village, such as reconstruction project of the elementary schoolhouse. He also received the Medal of Honor from the government. His baby name is also recorded. Changing a name to an adult name at a rite of passage was also a common practice in traditional Japan. This is my great-grandfather who lost his first son at a young age. His mother lived until 86, but his wife died at 53. His second wife lived until 1950, and his second son, my great-uncle and my grandfather's youngest brother, took care of her until her death at age 81. This great-uncle also became a Shinto priest and rose through the ranks to become one of the highest-ranking priests of the Imperial Shinto Shrine in Korea. I will say more about him later. My grandfather lived until 1990 at age 88. Obviously, his death was not on the list that he had created, but his first wife is on the list. She was sick from breast cancer for many years and died on October 13th, 1942, at age 39. They had 3 sons, my father and 2 younger brothers. This was during the war, and my father was in a high school away from home. When he came back for a funeral, my uncles saw him cry uncontrollably. Losing his mother must have been very difficult for him. My father hardly ever talked about her and her family. As he was dying, he started saying that he missed her terribly and called out to her in his sleep. Shortly after my grandmother's death, my grandfather was going to Taiwan on a business trip, and his ship was sunk by a torpedo. He survived, but never told his children what happened. must have been a huge trauma, just losing his wife and then almost die himself. A few months later, my father informed his brothers that their father was getting remarried and that it would be a good thing for the family. His younger brothers later told me that they rejected her and made her life miserable for a while. One of them told me that he could never call her mother. I wonder how my father felt about this new mother, not very much older than he was. There is another death on the list. The first daughter of my father's new mother was born on June 5th, 1946. The birth was difficult, and she died 3 days later. It was less than 1 year after the defeat of Japan, and the family was still living in the countryside where they evacuated from frequent air raids in Tokyo and major cities. According to my uncle, my father took the girl's body to a riverbank and cremated it in an open fire. I have never heard about this aunt until I read my uncle's memoir of his new mother. I wonder what it was like for my father to burn a little body of his half-sister. This is the end of all deaths in my family recorded by my grandfather. Since then, my grandfather, step-grandmother, mother, father, and both uncles have died. A lot of death and a lot of stories yet to be told. As I finish naming all the people who died in my family, I must also mention that many things happened that impacted these people's lives. In the mid-1800s, Japan opened for trades with European and American nations under the pressure of their gunboat diplomacy. The Shogun government was toppled, and Meiji imperial government was established under the slogan of civilization now and leave Asia, enter Europe. Japan invaded many countries, colonized and occupied Korea, Taiwan, part of China, Sakhalin Island, and many other countries and territories, created Manchurian puppet government, and terrorized its own citizens. They were taught that Japan was a God-protected nation and that they must fight until death to protect the emperor, the living God. Japanese people fought valiantly, volunteered for suicide missions, persevered air raids and hunger, and committed suicides rather than being captured in the name of living God. They also killed, maimed, and raped in the name of the living God too. My father was drafted into the Japanese Imperial Army toward the end of the war. His home was burned down by an air raid, and he lost all his journals and most of family photos. When Japan was defeated on August 15, 1945, everything turned upside down. It was the spiritual death of the nation. The war ended, but the chaos and hunger continued for years. My father wrote that the fact that his uncle was a priest in the Imperial Shinto Shrine in Korea became very inconvenient after the war. He carried a deep shame about his and his family's active participation in the imperial colonialism. He became atheist and distanced himself from his family, who refused to abandon their ancestor worship. I don't know much about my mother's family, but she also held a similar sentiment. She also lost her mother and some siblings at a young age. She was working in China toward the end of the war, and the defeat was a huge shock to her. While grieving personal losses of their family, their values, sense of self-worth, and belief systems, they found each other. They both became activists against wars and supported women's rights. They were among many Japanese people who ran away from Japanese traditions and embraced new Western values, in their case, communism and socialism. They had many friends, young and old, but they did not find belonging in their own family. They didn't say much, but were good listeners. My father especially worked hard to get voices of people who had things to say through his publishing company. My parents didn't want to be part of my father's family grave. They chose to donate their bodies for medical education and to have their cremains buried in the medical school memorial mausoleum. After my father's body was cremated, I participated in a traditional ritual of picking his bones. I was able to save a little bit of his bones to keep with me. My father and I were very close. As a child, I thought I knew him very well. But after his death, I realized that I hardly knew him. But his life experiences continued to impact me. I became a chaplain, and my ministry is to listen to other people's stories. Several years ago, I read the publication of the book, Unitarian, Universalist of Color, Stories of Struggle, Courage, Love, and Faith. I spoke about this book a few years ago in this congregation. During the project, I thought a lot about how my father used to publish such books to lift up people's voices. Now, my parents didn't talk very much about their experience, but I tried to share my stories as well as their stories, because I believe that truth sets us free and shame keeps us in chains. Stories, whether they are told or not, connect us. We are formed by stories. We find each other through stories. They are the sacred gifts to each other and the source of belonging. I invite you to explore and share your stories so that you get to know yourself better and deepen your connections with each other. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so.
Thank you, Yuri. At this time each Sunday we take a monetary offering which goes to support our social justice work in our community. This month our collection plate goes to the New Hope Elementary School to help provide special support for children who are struggling there. You may donate by putting cash or checks in the offering plate. If by check, please write the word plate in the memo line. Or you can go online to our website, uuchnc.org, and click the donate button. Or some of you may prefer to use the QR code printed in our order of service. Thank you, Aviva, that was lovely. So please join me in our prayer of collective gratitude found in your order of service. For the love that surrounds us every morning, for the friends beside us, and for the generous gifts just received, let us be truly grateful. Now please rise and body your spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 1051 in your teal hymnal, We Are. And Yuri will lead us.
Today's closing words are by Maya Angelou, and it also comes from this wonderful book. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon the day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream.
As we conclude our time of worship, but before we extinguish our chalice, let us bid a farewell and blessed be to each of the spirits of the four directions until they rejoin us at the winter solstice as Molly extinguishes each of the ritual flames. Let us rise and face the east and simply say, farewell and blessed be. Spirit of the east, farewell and blessed be. Spirit of the south, farewell and blessed be. Spirit of the west, farewell and blessed be. Spirit of the north, farewell and blessed be. Now please join me as we extinguish our sacred UU chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, my friends, and blessed be.